Welcome to Mindshift. I'm Brandon. Today's Thursday episode will obviously not be part of the secular Bible study series that I do. I'm taking a few week break before I dive into the New Testament. But I did have a little bit of time on my hands, and I have been seeing everywhere this mischaracterization of an interview that Richard Dawkins did on the LBC where he talks about being a cultural Christian. I'm getting comments on my videos saying, don't you know Richard Dawkins is now a Christian? If your atheist leader is a Christian, what does that leave you with? Which is ridiculous for many reasons, but also the amount of videos that Christian and apologetic channels are making about this, and they're all, or I should say the ones that I have watched, are misrepresenting this, and it would seem purposefully. I don't know Richard Dawkins, I don't speak for Richard Dawkins, but I did want to clarify at least what I heard in the interview and try to frame this a little bit better for people to understand. First thing I'll say is, this seems to be something that's brought up a lot. Well, Richard Dawkins thinks this. Well, Richard Dawkins said that. We're not a club. We're not a religion. Richard Dawkins is not our leader. He's not the Pope. He's not speaking a general truth that then falls down and applies to all atheists. He's entitled to his own opinions, and he's done a lot for the atheist movement, if you can even call it that. But I think it's always important to understand that just like all Christians are individuals, all atheists are individuals. But the difference is we don't hold to one holy book or one text. I don't read the God delusion or the selfish gene chapter by verse, memorizing it to pass down to my kids for them to orient their lives around. The common thread between atheists is we simply don't believe in God. That's it. It stops there. There's so many differences even within that. You have atheists that don't believe in evolution and some that do. You have atheists that believe in flat earth and atheists that don't. You have atheists that are staunch and say there can't be a God. And you have other atheists that are more agnostic, just atheistic toward a particular God. That would be like me. I don't believe in Yahweh or Allah, but I'm open to the idea of there being something that we don't otherwise already know about. There's atheists that believe in objective morality and atheists that don't. It's all over the board because we don't pretend to be some kind of an organization. We're linked very minimally by a lack of belief. End of story. But let's talk about what Richard Dawkins said and what is being said about him. The first claim is this: Richard Dawkins is now a Christian. And this one, it's out there. Again, watch these videos yourselves. It's absolutely ridiculous, let alone how many clickbaity titles are out there saying this, or the comments that I'm getting, and I'm sure other atheists are as well. He is not a Christian. He does not believe this. Let's play the clip and then talk about it.
And what would be your Easter message?
Well, I must say I was slightly horrified to hear that Ramadan is being promoted instead. I do think that we are culturally a Christian country. I call myself a cultural Christian. I'm not a believer, but there's a distinction between being a believing Christian and being a cultural Christian. And so, I love hymns and Christmas carols, and I sort of feel at home in the Christian ethos. I feel that we are a Christian country in that sense. It's true that statistically the number of people who actually believe in Christianity is going down, and I'm happy with that. But I would not be happy if, for example, we lost all our cathedrals and our beautiful parish churches. Certainly, if we substituted any alternative religion, that would be truly dreadful.
So I might have chosen different words when answering that same question, but he's very specific to say he does not believe. And there is a difference between a believing Christian and a cultural Christian. And he even explains why he considers himself a cultural Christian, that he enjoys the hymns and the holidays and things like this, that he feels at home. And I'll speak for myself at this point, but growing up Christian for 30 years, I have a lot of good memories associated with Christmas or Easter. There are parts of church that were not wholly terrible and even beneficial, or dare I say nostalgic. For any of you that watched me when I did my deconstruction of a Christian song from my youth, you probably saw that on display. Did that mean I all of a sudden believe in the truth claims about Jesus Christ? Of course not. Here, what I'm seeing from someone that I honestly haven't seen it that much from, Richard Dawkins, is nuance. The nuance that many Christians say they would like to see in atheists. That we can still understand that there are some good things. That we can still participate in the holy days as part of understanding that the predominant grouping still believes in these things. And if they want to sing hymns at Christmas time, and that's what comes on the radio, I'm not going to be the kind of atheist that says, that's stupid, this God doesn't exist. I'm going to let it play. In the same way that when a song comes on about old Saint Nick, I don't say, well, I don't believe in Santa, so this is stupid. I enjoy the merrymaking. I'll tell you Merry Christmas because I understand that that's the colloquialism for this particular holiday. Now, there's other atheists who have made different decisions about what they will and will not participate in, and that's fine. That's for each individual to do. And there might be reasons for them that they think differently than I do. And I don't particularly care to say that one is better than the other. But what I do see here seems to be an olive branch from Dawkins saying, yeah, I live in a Christian country, and a lot of our heritage and a lot of our customs and a lot of our culture is indeed baked into this. And it's familiar to me, and even at some points enjoyable. But it does not mean he believes. And it does not refute everything that he has said about the dangers and harms of this religion. And again, he might come out in his own defense and say something completely different. I don't pretend to understand exactly what he's saying or thinking, but I do know the way that Christians are trying to interpret it and promote it is dead wrong. I mean, come on, he even says point blank, I'm happy for the fact that Christianity is going down in this country. That's a separate thing from the second part, which is if we have to have religion, is the devil we know better than the devil we don't? And I'm using these terms loosely to talk about the difference between Christianity and Islam. So let's see what he says there.
Church attendance is plummeting, but the building of mosques across Europe, I think 6,000 are under construction, and there are many more, are being planned. So do you regard that as a problem? Do you think that matters?
If I had to choose between Christianity and Islam, I choose Christianity every single time. I mean, it seems to me to be a fundamentally decent religion in a way that I think Islam is not. The way women are treated, I mean, Christianity is not great about that. It's had its problems with female vicars and female bishops and things, but there's an active hostility to women, which is promoted, I think, by the holy books of Islam. I'm not talking about individual Muslims, who, of course, are quite different. But the doctrines of Islam, the Hadith and the Quran, is fundamentally hostile to women, hostile to gays. I find that I like to live in a culturally Christian country, although I do not believe a single word of the Christian faith.
And by the way, this conversation is about Europe. He even turns to her at one point and says,
well, you didn't ask me about Christianity in America. That's a different matter entirely.
Okay.
Because he recognizes that there's a level of fundamentalism in Christianity that is additionally harmful, and that plays itself out in America very different than it does in Europe. So culturally, being a Christian in Europe is preferable to him over the kind of Islam that is also playing out in Europe. I think most atheists, if given this choice in Europe between their version of Christianity and their version of rising Islam, would say, let's stick with our cultural Christianity. That preference from Richard, to me, again, does not equal belief at all. It does not bode well for Christians. It's not saying, oh, they have it right. It's saying in their incorrectness, they, in the way that they practice that currently, is less harmful. That's it. If that's the win that you want from Richard Dawkins, you can have it. In certain parts of the globe, certain parts of Christianity, as they are acted out or watered down, are less harmful than other religions that are acted out in a more fundamentalist way in those same regions. That is all that I am hearing being said here. I think to close this out, we can just put a nail in the coffin with this idea that Richard Dawkins is now a Christian or is professing that Christianity is true or any of these things, with this very simple statement from the end of the interview that I have yet to see played on any of these videos that are making these claims. Here it is.
I don't want to be misunderstood. I mean, I do think it's nonsense. The Christian belief, today is Easter, and of course I don't believe that Jesus rose from the dead.
Just one thing. Does it matter if Christianity is a minority religion in this country?
I think it matters from a cultural point of view.
It doesn't get any more simple than that. It's funny because the way that Christians have taken this video and portrayed it seems to me to be very much like how Christians read the Bible. They just cherry-picked it. They took a couple of sound bites where they did not care to understand the context or the nuance, while dismissing the exact sound bites that deny the very thing they're claiming, and tried to make something entirely new out of it. The formula is obvious. It's how we have today's Christianity as it stands. They left out the Old Testament part of Richard Dawkins, and the vague, fuzzy parts of his New Testament they arranged to their liking. How perfectly ironic. So, my thoughts on the matter are pretty simple. I agree. I think that the decline in religion in general is a positive trend. I don't pretend that from a secular standpoint, we have everything all figured out and we're ready to be successful without religion for really the first time in history. We do have certain places that are doing this though, and they're doing it well. So there is a template laid out, but there is going to be a large growing pain process, I believe, when we swap out stories and myths and gods of the gap and personal saviors for reality. I get the appeal of religion. I get the sense of justice will be done in the end. I get the everything will be made right. I get someone cares for me and I was made with purpose. I understand why all of that is attractive. I don't see where any of that is true. And in the byproduct of that non-truth, I see a whole lot of actual harm. And so for me, that's enough to put forward, let's give truth a go. Let's give reality a go. And you know what I don't think will happen? I don't think we'll go through another Dark Ages. I don't think we'll have our own version of the Crusades as we march forward. I don't think there's going to be any Inquisition happening. But these death throes of Christianity that rise up and look something like Christian nationalism here in the States, they're pretty darn scary. And though I would take that over the fundamentalist side of Islam, does not mean that Christianity is somehow good or true or beneficial. It just means less harmful in certain aspects as it plays out in real time. So again, if that is the win that Christians want to report from what they heard from Dawkins, I'm all for it. But I hope that some of you who are hearing this and seeing a little clip here or a little soundbite there, a little news article there, can take the time to watch the interview for yourself. I'll link it down below and do a good job of understanding nuance and context and that the entire thing matters, which is not something we typically see so well from believers. That's it. I just wanted a quick short Thursday video. Thanks for being here. I do hope to have a Sunday video for you out, even though I will be gone. I'm so looking forward to the eclipse. I'm taking my 2 young children and my wife to see it. I got to see it last time in 2017, and it is something that is spectacular, and I am excited for them. Awe is something that us atheists can still have. Beauty is something we can still remark on. I don't have to imbue this with any kind of prophetic meaning. I don't have to see it as a warning for my life that I've been living away from God. It is a natural event that is unique. And that in and of itself is what makes it special. So yes, I'm really looking forward to that. I'll be getting back Tuesday, so I don't know if I'll have had a chance to prepare a Tuesday takedown. I imagine that Thursday I still won't have the New Testament ready, but we should be back on track that Sunday moving forward. So watch a video you haven't seen in the meantime to help out the channel on one of those days if an upload doesn't happen. And until then, keep thinking. I wanted to personally thank all of my top tiers of support: my Iconoclast, Anne, Boris, GVI, Jacob, Joe, Martin, Oliver, Perry, Rokkit, and Shawn, my Humanist heroes, Jarrod and Kristi, my Atheist advocates, Caleb, Imposter, Jeff, Jeffrey, Karen, Sparky, and Todd, as well as all of my Secular Scholar patrons. If you believe in the mission of this channel or you just enjoy its content, please consider joining these fine people.